What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about getting crafting materials and how to not run out while you're playing in Season 28, because for those of you that don't know, Season 28 is going to involve a ton of crafting. And because of that, you're going to run really low very quickly on things like reusable parts, things like veiled crystals, and arcane dust. Now you can see here each craft that we have to do requires 15 of each material. And since you're going to craft a full set of level 70 gear, basically as you're starting the game, you're going to run out very quickly. On top of that, if you're playing with friends and maybe you're going to have to craft for them, that's going to be even more resources. But that's not the only thing that's using resources. Over here in the Kanai's Cube, you're going to need to use resource for things like potentially upgrading rare items. That's a ton of resources. So we definitely need a lot specifically for this season. And so I'm going to help you get those crafting materials. Before we start, we got to talk about the materials themselves. Now, everything oftentimes will need a mix of the three materials: reusable parts, arcane dust, and veiled crystals. However, you really want to focus on getting reusable parts. Why? Well, I'll show you guys in just a second. Because each piece, the yellows or the rares here, are going to drop very low amounts of resources. The blues are going to drop a medium amount of resources, and the whites are going to drop the most. Let me move myself to the middle here and just show you guys what I mean. Right here, if we salvage the rares, I'm getting one crystal, one crystal. If I salvage the blues here, 3, 2, so just a little bit more. But if I salvage the white here, 9. This is very important. Oftentimes, later on when you get to the higher paragons or even closer to level 70 or even higher torment levels, you're going to drop a lot of yellows and blues, mostly yellows though. So you never really run out of veiled crystals. But the thing is, even if you don't, or even if you do run out of veiled crystals, you can actually convert whites and blues into yellows or vice versa, or any material into each other. How? Well, you're just going to head over to the cube, and you're going to go ahead and use the recipe here in the selection. I believe it's recipe 6, 7, and 8. No, it's 7, 8, and 9. You can see here, you can go ahead and put in 100 veiled crystals and one of the following, 100 arcane dust and one of the following, and 100 reusable parts and one of the following. Keep in mind that whatever you put in here, let's say it's a magic equipable item, that is going to basically give you arcane dust. If you put a rare, you're going to get veiled crystals. That same applies to these other two. If you put an arcane dust and put a common, you're going to get reusable parts. So due to this recipe, oftentimes death's breaths are not a consideration because you oftentimes have a lot of those. You want to farm the material that's going to give you the most amount, and that's going to be whites or commons. So we need to figure out ways to get it. Let's talk about the first way. The first way is just going to be a general utility way that's going to give you all sorts of materials all the time, and that's going to be bounties. I actually have a completed bounty right here behind me, so I can go ahead and show you guys. But bounties are going to be a great way just to get all the materials, as well as getting you your bounty materials themselves for you to go ahead and just progress your account at large, right? Going ahead and opening up these large Horagic caches here, they're just going to give you a lot of general crafting materials, as well as the specific act crafting materials, which are always going to be great because you're going to need a lot of those for all sorts of things in the game. So if you need your unique act crafting materials, this is a great way just to get some, I guess you could say, passive way to get crafting materials. Again, it's mainly focused on the bounty specific act crafting materials. However, you're going to get some bonus in there. So you definitely want to do that if you already need the act specific materials. But onto specifically targeting reusable parts, you're going to want to focus on armory racks. These things spawn in 3 specific maps that I know of very commonly. And so I want to show you guys each one of these things for you guys to check out. The first one is going to be the Leoric's Manor Courtyard in Act 1. This is going to be a very easy path, and actually something that my fellow content creator Chosen made a full dedicated video on, so I definitely recommend checking out that video. But you're basically going to go ahead and head over to Leoric's Manor, head up the staircase, head over to the right hand side, and then follow this path all the way to the end. Here we go. Open the door, go outside, and we will be heading straight over to the armory room back here. There's an armory room, and if we just finish off these guys in here, you'll notice there's a lot of armor racks and weapon racks. Again, this is why we want to find those armor and weapon racks, because you're going to get a lot of whites from that. So that's the first location. Moving on to the second location, we're going to be heading over to Act 1 again, and that's just going to be a normal map, not a specific farming location. So if you guys do have bounties in this area, for example, this is a great way to double up on getting your crafting materials as well as bounties done. We're going to be heading over to the Halls of Agony. The Halls of Agony tend to have quite a few armor racks in them. So if you guys happen to do bounties and you just want to go ahead and run through and actually do content in the game while also getting a lot of crafting materials, you'll notice that there's going to be a decent amount of weapon racks and armor racks in this area. So you'll find these things off to the side known as the torture tools, of course, and then they will drop those whites as I'm saying. This is a very, very nice way to go ahead and pick up some extra white crafting materials and some whites in general, and you'll be benefiting from it quite a bit. Keep in mind that you do want to make sure that you're paying attention off on the signs, making sure that you're looking for those torture tools. So it is a little bit more, I guess you could say, intensive than running something like the Leoric's Manor that I showed earlier on. Oh, and there we go. We almost missed one right there. There's another one, another torture tools. Definitely want to pick up each one of those as you're going through. Very, very nice way to pick up some extra crafting materials. Then we have one more here, and that's going to be Act 5. We're going to be heading to the Battlefields of Eternity. Again, another way, if you happen to have a bounty in that area, you can double up and do bounty while also picking up a lot of whites. This area also has a lot of armor racks in the area. Also, if you happen to run the Nephilim Rift and you get this map, you could also get a lot of materials. There's one right there. We just keep walking around and see if we can find any. And we're just going to walk around, and I'm not even going to go in a specific area. I'm just going to wander a little bit here and see if we can find a decent amount of them. Again, these are mainly to use if you're looking to kind of double up on a couple things while getting your crafting materials. Angelic Scrolls, that's not going to be a crafting material. We're looking for those armor racks. We're looking for those weapon racks going through. And again, if you find this area in the Nephilim Rifts, this is also another great way. You could find this area just accidentally going through, which is quite nice as well. You don't have to specifically target the act maps. If you don't want to, you can find sometimes in the Nephilim Rifts. And there's another one, there's another armor rack. So you'll find these scattered throughout. Again, I'm just wandering a little bit. And if you go ahead and follow the specific path towards the bounty, you can get that done. Here's another one, boom. There's 3 already. But again, if you're looking for just straight up crafting materials, of the 3, you're looking at Leoric's Manor to be kind of your best option as far as I've seen. So there's your 3 options. Just a little bit of a recap here. We're going to be going for white items because they're going to give the most amount of resources, and we're going to convert them using the cube, using recipe, I believe 7 is what we saw earlier. Right here, using those reusable parts and then converting them into either veiled crystals or arcane dust. Also, the 3 act maps specifically that you're going to want to look for, 2 of them are on Act 1. We're going to be looking for Halls of Agony, as well as the Leoric's Manor Courtyard. The Leoric's Manor Courtyard specifically is going to be specifically for targeting white items. You're going to run through that far right hand side all the way through after you enter the manor, and then you're going to enter that little armory and then just pick up all the whites and then refresh the map. The Halls of Agony, as well as the Act 5 map Battlefields of Eternity, have bounties on them, so you can actually do the bounties to go ahead and get extra materials, as well as getting the white items while going through those maps. And then of course, bounties just oftentimes are going to give you more crafting materials, and usually if you're farming for, let's say, a specific act crafting material and you do a full map of bounties or a full game of bounties, you're going to get 5 times around 15 materials of each, which is roughly about 70 to 75 materials of each. And usually that's okay for a solid start And later on, as you get further into the game, you're going to need less and less. So this really only matters for the first week. So definitely get your bounties in, get your Leoric's Manor farm in, and hopefully that will help you guys get all the bounty materials as well as all the crafting materials that you'll need. Hopefully this was helpful, guys. I know that I found myself really slacking on crafting materials, especially when I was testing out on season 28. Because of all the crafting I had to do, I really lacked a lot of materials. And again, you might underestimate how fast you go through when you start using the rare upgrade to the legendary upgrade in the cube, or even going through and potentially doing just a ton of crafting for season 28. So be sure to take advantage of some of these methods that I'm mentioning. See you next time.